you can say that the economic relations started to grow now post 1990s, but again you can say political issues were there. What are the political issues? For example, India's Operation Shakti 1998, again Japan imposed sanctions on India. Why? Because that India developed a nuclear weapon state and Japan followed pacifism. But if you can see post 2000, you can see India Japan's relationship now not only was based on economics, it also started getting defense and strategic component. Why it started becoming more defense and strategic? Rise of China. Because with rise of China, now China became even problem to Japan. Why? Because one, the Chinese aggression in South China Sea, and now dispute between Japan and China over a highland called as what? Senkaku, that is in East China Sea. Similar, at the same time, you can say China also started to have disputes with India over Arunachal Pradesh, Ladakh, etc. And China also started to, what you can say, challenge the UN Convention on Laws of Seas, that is in South China Sea. That is common for both India and Japan because both India and Japan use this route for trade purpose. And third one, China started also controlling the global supply chain. For example, you can take the rare earth materials. So China is one of the largest exporter of rare earth materials to Japan. But when this dispute happened, they cut off the supply chain. They told they are not going to export rare earth materials to Japan. And this made what now both India and Japan to say that they have to come together to what? Contain China, based on what your enemy's enemy becomes your natural friend. And that is why you can say since 2014, the government has had more focus on strategic and defense collaboration with Japan. So, for example, Prime Minister Modi's first visit outside neighborhood was to Japan, and where he also, when he went to Japan, both Shinzo Abe and Indian Prime Minister Modi, they made a joint statement saying that what no country should violate the UN Convention on Laws of Seas. That was indirectly aimed towards China. And Japan also signed the AXA agreement, what we have signed with Russia and America, Lemova and Relos, acquisition and cross servicing agreement, which will enable Japan to use Indian ports and India to use Japanese ports across the world for humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. Third, Japan is also offered to sell these amphibious aircrafts to India. Means amphibious means they can run on water and air also. And fourthly, Japan and India have also signed an agreement because India has also rare earth materials. So Japan has said that it is going to transfer the necessary technology to extract these materials, and that is why they have signed an agreement. Japan now has also made investments in India's northeast to strengthen India's northeast infrastructure and promote India's look east, act east policy. India and Japan today are also working together to counter China's presence in Africa. So they have launched a project called as what? Afro-Asia Growth Economic Corridor, which will develop infrastructure, road connectivity, ship routes from Asia to Africa. And India and Japan have also brought a global strategic partnership agreement. And in 2017, when Shinzo Abe was the PM, you can say that in his, how we say parliament in India, or they call it diet. So in Japan's diet, they were able to pass a bill which exempted or removed the sanctions which was imposed on India, and now they told Japanese companies can supply nuclear equipments to India, even though India is not a signatory of NPT. So they gave exemption to India. And both India, Japan are also part of military exercises or naval exercise. For example, Malabar exercise, or also you have Coast Guard exercise called as Saihog Kainji. It is a Coast Guard exercise between India and Japanese Coast Guard. And today, ISRO is also working with the Japanese space agency, what you can say, JAXA, JAXA, and ISRO are working together on many projects. And the other area we can also say Japan and India is working. Japan has agreed to transfer bullet train technology to India in that regard, so which will enable India to compete with China in terms of technology. So that is what we can say today. India and Japan relationship, it's not just based on economic perspective, it is also based on strategic perspective. Both India and Japan have brought Indo-Pacific strategy. So Japan has free and open Indo-Pacific. India has free and open inclusive Indo-Pacific. So that is a common strategy both between India and Japan. Both India and Japan are also part of Quad today. Both India and Japan are also part of an initiative called as SCRI, that is Supply Chain resilient initiative. The goal of that project is to reduce the dependence on China and to diversify the global supply chains. So what we say, de-risking. What is de-risking? Reduce your dependence on China, try to shift your companies to another basis. So Western countries are trying to do de-risking today, means asking their companies to establish bases from away from China to another country. And that is why today what Shinzo Abe, he's passed away now because he's the former Japanese PM. Now you have a different PM because he was killed in what you can say bullet fire, one of the public firing. So Shinzo Abe once he said in his book that what a strong India is good for Japan, a strong Japan is good for India, a strong Indo-Japan relationship is what good for Asia at large. And that is what if they're going to ask the question, that's what I told ಇವಾಗ ಈ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಆರ್ಮಿ U2 ಯುಗೋ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಬರೀ ನಿಮ್ದು ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಸಕಂದ್ರೆ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಜಪಾನ್ ರಿಲೇಶನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಎವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ಈ 1998 ದಲ್ಲ ಇವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಅವ್ರು ಏನ್ ಕೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಏನಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವಾಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಜಪಾನ್ಸ್ ರಿಲೇಶನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವೈ ಟುಡೇ ದ ರಿಲೇಶನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಮೂವ್ ಗ್ರೇಡೆಡ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜಿಕ್ ಫ್ರಂಟ್.